Hello and welcome to day 3 of How to Win Your Day. My name is Kelly Nystrom and this is Chris Murray, and we are so excited to have you joining us today on the third day of How to Win Your Day.
So that's right. So yesterday we really got into, just to review what we've covered so far. Day number 1, we really talked about the what. So finding out what is it that you really want. It's the starting point. Day number 2, I love day number 2. Finding your authentic motivation is so critical. And, we have the AI coach. If you haven't gone through it, strongly encourage you to go through it. Even if you haven't been through the previous 2 days, if you go through that one exercise alone, you will learn a lot about yourself. And more importantly, a lot about what's actually going to motivate you and drive you to move yourself forward in achievement of the goal. Because so much personal development focuses on, you got to know what you want and why you want it. But a lot of that why for most people is surface level. It's more just things, extrinsic. And that's great. But the reality is it's more the internal drivers are what's really going to keep you moving and keep progressing. We talked a little bit about people that run companies and organizations, how powerful that is, understanding the drivers for each one of your team members, but also for yourself.
Chris, yesterday's activity is such a powerful one. And I really do encourage people, if they haven't had the time, to go ahead and take just a few minutes. We promise you won't regret it. And it will really help you understanding your motivation to help you really not only get started, but keep going even when it's hard. And today's lesson continues with motivation, discussing motivation, but really looking at it from a slightly different viewpoint.
That's right. So today we're getting into the way, and the way is the key. So like I said, I know a lot of personal development just says know what you want and why you want it. You don't need to know the how, but the truth is you absolutely need to know the how, or at least a how. And that's what we're going to get into today. So the way is your how. So how are you actually going to achieve your goal? And there's a lot of research done on this, and there's one specific research study that Kelly and I have been getting into, and it's by a woman by the name of Dr. Oettingen. She's at NYU and also teaches at another college, a university in Germany. And she wrote a phenomenal book. It's called, what's the name of it, Kelly?
It is called Rethinking Positive Thinking, Inside the Science of Motivation. And her and actually a lot of colleagues along the way delve deep into this topic as well. And so her book actually summarizes a lot of the different research done on this topic. And her intent was never to look at positive thinkers in a negative way. What she was researching was what works. What ultimately really works, and really helping people be successful. And so a lot of the research wasn't just research projects done by undergrads. She did a lot of comparative studies as well as her colleagues. They did longitudinal research, brain imaging, they looked at energy levels, and they really looked at practical application for how to be successful using positive thinking. And what she found was that in order to really be successful, you actually have to plan for any kind of obstacles that might come your way. And what you and I found more fascinating than a lot of the other pieces was that actually fantasizing about success was detrimental to your success. It was really detrimental to your motivation. And it undermined that motivation because you actually weren't taking any steps needed to be successful. You were stuck in just the fantasy piece of it. And it actually gave you a sense of accomplishment, which prevented you from actually always taking the necessary steps needed to be successful.
Yeah, and to me, that's the part that I found just absolutely fascinating, because we have been in this for so long in this business. And, we always talk about, you got to focus. You don't want to focus on problems. You just want to focus only on what you want. Whereas the research actually suggests that that is not what you want to do at all. That, positive thinking alone and not actually focusing on realistic planning is actually detrimental to your success. So the truth is, you actually do want to think about possible obstacles, things that might come and challenge you along the way, so that you better prepare yourself for it. Otherwise, you're just not going to be prepared once they do. And I touched a little bit on this. I think it was yesterday when I was talking about Jeff Bezos. And it was about him talking about, he was always thinking about possible obstacles, some of the challenges, the problems. Same with Elon Musk, same thing. He's thinking about things that could go wrong. And the reality is, I think if you talk to any business owner, again, you don't think about those things with the intention of bringing those things to you, but you got to prepare your mind for it in case it does. Because if you don't, when one of those things does pop up, again, chances are most people will quit. And this is why, again, you hear statistics say that, what is it, like 96% of businesses fail. And the truth is, like, businesses don't fail. People fail because we're not mentally prepared and we're not physically prepared. We don't have our way.
Well, Chris, Gabrielle Oettingen, she actually termed this as a practical evidence-based mental strategy to overcome those obstacles. And this is not to say that we're promoting negative thinking or to sit there just thinking about problems. We are promoting that you go into them with a positive attitude, not a negative one, but that you actually are realistic and that you look at any obstacles you might overcome so that you're prepared if you get to them to actually overcome them. And I think it's a wonderful way to put it, a practical evidence-based mental strategy to propel you forward. It's just such a lovely way to word that.
That's right. And again, this is why we put so much emphasis on the daily wins. So making sure that the behaviors that you're creating are lining up with the goals that you want. Because again, we hear things like you got to change from the inside out. Well, you can change from the outside in. So if you create the winning behaviors and you create consistency, you create the daily discipline to see those through, it's not a question of if you will grow and you will create the results. Over time, you will create the results. Again, it's not possible, it's probable. So this is why a lot of what we're going to be teaching and focusing on is really helping you guys develop your daily wins and your winning system.
Chris, when we first learned about the Goldilocks rule, it seemed so made up. We didn't realize how much research had gone into the development of this rule. And it's such an elementary way to put it, right? The Goldilocks rule, it states that the human experience their peak motivation when you're working on tasks that are just right. And that's logical, right? Something that's not too easy. It's not too hard, but it's just right with your current abilities. It lies on the edge of just hard enough. And it seems so elementary, but it's really vital. It is so important to your growth.
That's right. And this is why I love this principle. I did a video on it just the other day. And it's kind of like when Goldilocks was going around to the bear's house, right? And this porridge was too hot, this one's too cold, this one's just right? The bed was too hard, this one's too soft, this one's just right. She didn't settle for any one of those. And this is like why it's so important for you to develop the right behaviors to achieve your goals. Because sometimes, like, let's say, for example, you have a goal to get healthy. Well, let's say you're saying, okay, I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. every morning. I'm going to go work out. Well, to create that behavior, that might be too difficult. And over time, that may not work. You might quit. Whereas if you set a goal, okay, I'm just going to work out 1 day a week. Well, that's easy to do. You can do that. Anyone can go walk for, 30 minutes once a week. Well, chances are that's not going to keep you emotionally involved in achieving the goal either. So it's about finding that balance, finding something that's not going to stretch you so far outside the comfort zone, but also something that's so easy that keeps you bored. And it's finding that sweet spot. So it's, again, developing the routine that's going to be in your Goldilocks zone. And they actually drilled this down and found what was like a 4% increase. And I don't know how in the world you discover what 4% more is. But the whole point is, again, it's true what they say, that you got to get outside your comfort zone, but not too much. So it's got to be in that place where you can create that sustainability over a long period of time to see that goal achieved.
I actually loved that it was quantified that way, that they were actually really trying to find validity in this principle, right? Some refer to it as a rule, some a principle, but they really wanted to quantify how hard that is. How much is just right? And so it is 4%, all the research shows. And I find that fascinating. And it goes back to what we do here. It has to be personalized, because what's hard for you might not be hard for me. Or what's just right for you is probably not going to be just right for me. And you continually have to be looking at, where am I with this? Is this still just right? Because the truth is, if you are working on something every single day, it should become easier. Those tiny gains every day should make it easier for you. So you constantly have to evaluate where you're at so you can modify it. And in all honesty, sometimes we work with clients, Chris, and it's just a little too hard and they're not able to sustain that motivation and then they give up. And that's not working either. And that is why really having the right goal for you and constantly evaluating it and modifying it is key, because you really need to have that right balance of wins, and with that balance of still needing to get better to continue with that motivation. And it really goes back to everything we've done with motivation. It is rooted in everything we do. And we were, again, we talked about this yesterday. We were shocked to find out there's so many different kinds of motivation. There's those little bursts, those little momentarily bursts of motivation, but there's also that authentic motivation that sustains you through everything. And sometimes the motivation, you find the motivation in those little tiny wins. And it's just a fascinating conversation.
It is. And just looking back on, from our experience, because we've worked with so many different people, and there was one of the things we used to have was a coaching business where people could get into this industry, build their own coaching and consulting business. And it was always so interesting, how some people would go through and do very well, where the majority would go through and not do very well. And eventually majority would quit. And it wasn't that the opportunity wasn't a good opportunity. It was this. So a lot of the times if someone had never created a business before, right? So they're trying to learn, how do I structure a business? They're trying to learn, how do I market myself? How do I sell? How do I go out there and brand myself? How do I go coach people? So they're trying to do all these things that are new to them, that are constantly outside their comfort zone and beyond their comfort zone. And don't misunderstand what we're saying here. We're not saying we don't believe you need to get outside your comfort zone. You should always challenge yourself. But you see, if you're going too far out and it's something so beyond you, it's not that you can't accomplish it. It's maybe you got to set some little wins that will lead you to that big accomplishment. So rather than going way too deep, way too fast, and this is going to be different for every person. So finding that sweet spot, it's something that has to be figured out. It's something you got to do the work to figure out. And there is no one size fits all. And if you listen to the last, 3 days of everything we're saying, it's, again, personal development is so personalized. Because going back to that example of people building their own coaching business, I had other people that had no qualifications whatsoever, but their motivation was so strong that kept them growing, kept them to learn all the things that they needed to do, and they succeeded. So again, it's not that one of these things is the critical component. It's the system as a whole. It's all of these things. And that's what we're not just teaching. We're teaching you how to apply this and live this on a daily basis.
Chris, the research shows that when you are working on challenges of just manageable difficulty, that's that 4% that they were able to quantify, just something on the perimeter of your ability where you need to keep working at it. That is what's crucial for maintaining that motivation. But you have to go back to, am I actually working towards something I really want? That's why this is so personal, and it is so different for everyone, because that range of difficulty looks different for everyone, as well as what you're working on. We work with clients that are really working on their health. They're working on their fitness. They want to be long-term mentally, physically, and that start point looks different for everyone. And so that level of difficulty looks different as you're moving through the process. And I think that it is so important to understand this is not a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. This is a process. The Goldilocks rule and everything we've been teaching about motivation is a process, and it should be changing, and you should be growing, and you should be challenging yourself. But again, it's personal. Where are you at right now? Where do you want to go? Let's walk it back and find something that is that just right for you.
That's right. You heard me say it on day one, success is not a secret, it's a system. And once you understand that and you understand how to develop that system for yourself, you can achieve any goal you set out to achieve. So again, it's not about the thing, it's how you do the thing. And that's the point. That's the system. That's the process. That's the way.
Well, you really have to fall in love with the fact that it is a system and it is a process, and that success is not owned, it's rented. and rent is due every day. I've always loved that saying. Success it's rented. And that's where those little daily wins come in. It's not a destination, it's a journey. And that used to actually bother me, that statement, because what do you mean? You're just successful and then you just are. But that's not the case. And I actually, over the years, have found great joy in that process, in the system. And it's exciting to watch what starts out hard, or in that just right zone, becomes very easy. And then you have to challenge yourself. And so much of that, what we do, Chris, is we really guide clients into discovering that for themselves so that they can ultimately use this system and process on their own.
That's right. And one of the first things we do when we're working with clients is kind of do it's almost like a habits assessment where you really look at how you're spending your time throughout your day. And the first time I did this, I was absolutely shocked, because you got to remember, so much of your day is unconscious. It's just you're operating off of your habits, your behavior, your systems. See, but most of us, we didn't deliberately determine those systems. Again, these are things that just got built up over time. We started to live it the same way every single day. And that's what we got to examine. We got to look at what you're doing on a regular basis. Then we got to develop a system that's going to match how you do want to live, but not too far, not too little, in that Goldilocks zone to keep you progressing and moving forward. Because like I said earlier, momentum is the key.
Well, having that plan, monitoring it, adjusting it, that continual feedback, and ultimately you have to have that motivation. So you really have to understand everything behind what you're doing. And it really is such a beautiful process to watch clients really discover how they want to live truly, creating those goals that are attainable for them, those 5 action steps, and constantly working towards them. Because you think those little tiny things don't make a difference or mean anything, but added up, compounded, they do. They make a huge difference over time. And that's really the goal, is to change and be a little better and enjoy your life and achieve those goals on a continual basis.
That's right. And that's why, you got to find your way. So you got to find the right way for you. And this is why, again, it's so personalized. It's got to be for you. It's not about what works for your partner, your best friend. It's about what works for you. Because again, there is no one size fits all when it comes to your personal growth. It's what works for you. So that really leads us into the next steps. And this is really creating your own personalized systems. And this, when we built 30 Wins, that was our whole thinking process behind this, is how do we really work with people to allow them to create a winning system that's specific and catered and tailored towards them? Because the one thing that I've seen over the last 12 years of being in this industry, the difference between the ones that are winning and the ones that are losing, it's their daily systems, it's their daily habits. But a lot of the times, even the ones that are winning are not consciously aware. They're just doing these things. They're the unconscious competence. So again, it's not about the thing, it's how you do the thing. It's about your system. So what we do here at 30 Wins is we are going to help you craft your perfect system. And this is really now where we're going to invite you to jump on a call with us. We can walk you through how we work with you on an individual level to help you get from where you are to where you really want to be. And this is really going through our process. So Kelly, do you want to touch on this a little bit?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we really spend a lot of time doing is working with you in that initial call, because we are really trying to clarify what it is that you want. And we look at that in a couple ways, personal, professional, relationship-wise, and as well as the financial piece. And then we really decide on a goal that you would like to work towards for the next 90 days. This is a 13-week program in which we work with you on developing the system so that it could be sustained long-term. We spend a lot of time talking with you about your why, because what we've discovered is how important that is to not only short-term getting started, getting that momentum, but continuing that momentum long-term. And so we help you create these 5 daily wins. These are action steps towards your goal. We know that you have ideas of things you would like to accomplish, as well as suggestions from us, and we will craft those 5 things for set 6 days a week that you will be doing. And then every single week for those 13 weeks, we get on a call with you. And once a week for 15 minutes, and we evaluate how that's going. We modify so that we're staying in that Goldilocks zone so that you are really able to make a lot of progress. And so we consistently use those wins to help you gain momentum, work towards your goal, and ultimately be successful.
That's right. And, going back to what Kelly was talking about, like really what we're doing is we're taking you through our system. And what you can expect each week is every week we're going to have an informational module. So we're going to have a lesson that we're going to be teaching you. And one of the things that we do here that you're going to find is very different from the marketplace. And you've seen this the last 3 days. Most of the lessons that we teach are no longer than 30 minutes tops. There's a reason behind that. And I talked about this on one of the days. Usually, if you watch an hour-long session within 24 hours, you've already forgotten 90% of what you listened to. That's not even including what you've applied. Chances are you probably haven't applied any of it. So the reason that we make these between 15 and 30 minutes is because we are going to give you very specific things that you can go out and implement immediately. And like we've been saying all week, everything is based on science and research. So we want you guys to test this. We want you guys to figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Because again, what works for one may not work for somebody else. If it doesn't resonate, you move on. We try the next thing. But we're going to be meeting with you guys every single week. So we have a one-to-one Zoom call. It'll be with myself or Kelly. And this is where we are going to evaluate and modify. We're going to see what's working, what's not working, what do we need to change, what are some other action steps we may need to add. Because here's the thing, in that Goldilocks zone, see what's a little bit of a stretch for you right now? Well, guess what? Maybe in 2 weeks, that may not be a stretch anymore. That might be too easy for you. We got to grow. We got to keep progressing, keep the momentum building. Because again, it's consistently developing that momentum that's going to keep you progressing and moving forward. And I hope you guys can now understand the power of what this really is, because again, this is real growth. This isn't just you study stuff, makes you feel good. This is really getting you out there doing things because, again, to get something, you got to do something. You got to get into action. It's an action-reaction thing. The other part of this is the personalized AI coach. So you guys have gotten a very small taste of what that is. See, when we're working with you guys directly, we actually build the AI coach that matches your goals. So it knows what your goals are. It knows what your 5 wins are every day. It knows what your motivators are. We're going to have different assessments that we're going to continually go through so that the exercise from yesterday, which, by the way, I thought was freaking phenomenal.
It really is.
But there's so many more. There's so much more that you can do to better understand yourself. What actually makes you do what you do? Okay, then we're going to have our wins tracker and journal. So you're going to be tracking this because on our weekly calls, this is what we're going to go through. We're going to see where you're at. We're going to modify as necessary. And like I said, we're going to keep you progressing. So we're going to constantly be working with you guys to help you actually grow. Because again, going back to what we've been saying, like so much of this, I've been in this industry for 12 years now, and it really is the best industry, but it frustrated the hell out of me that I was working with these people and you weren't seeing very many people progress. And again, I always thought they needed to study more. They just weren't getting it. And the truth is they needed more direction. They didn't see what they didn't see. That's why we're building this. This is why 30 Wins was actually created and developed, because we know we can help you, but we know the old school way of doing things isn't the most effective way. So we had to reinvent the model.
You know, when we really talk about how personalized this is, which is why we do spend that time each week with that one-on-one call with clients, the 13 weeks do have very specific teaching topics to them. Some are going to really, really resonate with you, and some you're going to feel like it's just stuff you already knew. That's why it's so personalized. Every single module has areas where you could delve deeper. There's more material for you if you're interested. Something piques your interest, more science you can get deeper into if you wish. But there are 13 different topics of information that we want you to know to be successful. And some is going to really resonate and some isn't. And some we're going to really go in deep with you because it'll be vital to your success. And that's where that piece gets so personalized. And really the power is going to ultimately come from the action that you take and really going through the process of evaluating where you're at and modifying it so that you can being successful. Everything else we give to you is really icing on the cake, but it's that process that is really going to ultimately define your success.
That's right. And a lot of the things that we're going to be teaching you, we're also going to program into the AI coach that's going to be working with you. Because again, a lot of the times people, when they hear about AI, they don't really understand what it is or how it works, or maybe you've tried some different things. But, you know, for me, and I know a lot of people used to believe that, you know, this was AI, the Terminator. And, you know, the reality is AI can be, you know, one of your best tools. And make no mistake, it is just a tool. It's not going to do the work for you. You got to do the work. But what it can do is really get you to see what you're not seeing. And this is why we're constantly upgrading and fine tuning that specifically towards you. Okay, so are you ready to win? And that's the big question here. Are you really ready to win? We've covered the what, the why, the way. Now it's up to you. So now it's up to you to decide, you know, do I really want the help? And, you know, our background, we used to always talk about the power of decision, that winners make the habit of making decisions very quick, very slow to change them, if and all they ever do. And I'll take that more to the science side of things. So one of the things that really actually helped me was I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins has written a couple of really good books. One of them was called The 5-Second Rule. And it was really about understanding how to interrupt your brain pattern. So if you don't make a decision within 7 seconds, your brain is already looking for excuses or reasons why you shouldn't do what you want to do. And I was the master of this. So every morning when I would wake up, right, I would sit in bed, I may pull out my phone, go look at something else. And she said, just count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up and do it. Just do it. So Nike got something right. Just do it. And again, it interrupts that brain pattern of trying to look, because your brain is designed to make you feel safe, stay comfortable, not do anything beyond what you want to do. And this is why, again, it's such a great tool. But there's science to why you need to make decisions quickly, but decisions that are moving you towards the goal. So we strongly encourage you guys to schedule a call. If any of this is you know, captured your interest and understanding more about how this can actually help you, I strongly encourage you to schedule a call. And the one thing that Kelly and I decided at the very beginning of all this, like, we're going to be 100% transparent. Everything we're doing is totally authentic. You know, there is an investment in the program. And Kelly mentioned it's 13 weeks. We're actually offering 16 weeks for the first group that goes through this. We're also offering a discounted rate. So it's $3,997 is what the investment is to work with us over those 16 weeks. Okay, that's only going to be until we take this down, which we're probably going to bring this down next Friday. So that's when we're going to take everything down. There's not going to be, there's going to be an extension. It's done. After Friday, all this, we're going to pull this back down. That bonus will also come down as far as the discount. So again, if there's any interest whatsoever, I strongly encourage you to schedule your peak performance planning session. We'll put a link here with the replay where you guys can schedule that call. I strongly encourage you to do it, because there's so many ways in which we can help you. Because like I've been saying this whole week, I think the only thing that most people are missing is the direction. And that's what we're here to do.
Chris, that 30-minute call will really be so that we can help you understand exactly how using the 30-win system can help you. That's really what will take place on that call. It's a 30-minute call, and we will be taking down the replays next Friday, which is 1 week from today, and that is November 10th. But you have all week to review the lessons, go back through them, see if anything sparked your interest, anything that resonated with you, that you think this might be the thing that actually now can really get you moving towards what you want. We're happy to share with you. And if you have any questions about anything specific and how it would relate to your goal, if you're wondering, would this work for you? How would this work for your schedule? Whatever questions you might have, please feel free to schedule a call. We'll hop on with you. We'll answer those questions and see if we can get you started.
That's right. So thank you guys for joining for the last 3 days. We hope you've enjoyed it. You know, like I said, you've only seen a small, very small snapshot of what it is that we're doing. And, you know, to me, this is very different from the marketplace. And, you know, the other part of this, we know this works because it's all based off, it's not based off of us. It's not about what we say. This is based off of what science and research says. So again, go ahead, schedule your call, and Kelly or myself, we look forward to speaking with you real soon. See ya.
Bye.